Welcome to Crack Pack. My name is Andrew, and today we're cracking open Wilds of Eldraine. Let's get cracking. Our first card today is a Wicked and Cursed Aura token. Then we have a Plains for our land. Next we have Forced Fruition for our Enchanting Tale. For 4 blue is an enchantment that reads, whenever an opponent casts a spell, that player draws 7 cards. This is immediately going into my painful draw deck. A deck where I want to make my opponents draw cards and suffer consequences for it. Or I draw cards and my opponents suffer for it. That is exactly what this is doing. You cast a spell, okay, draw 7 cards. Yes, you're getting fueled back up, but cast 2 spells, you will have drawn 14 cards in a turn. You're going to have to get rid of them. You're going to have to discard, or you're going to have to find some way to empty your hand. And if you cast 3, 4 spells in a turn, you're going to be going through a lot of your deck very quickly, and if you don't have a way to get rid of them, then it's going to be a problem. It's going to be a lot of cards that are just being forced into your graveyard because you had drawn too many. But that's about the only place I can think of that I would want to run Forced Fruition to, where I am intentionally trying to make my opponent draw lots of cards and punish you for it. If you have other ideas for where Forced Fruition would work well, let me know in the comments below. Next we have Virtue of Knowledge. For 4 and a blue is an enchantment that reads, if a permanent entering the battlefield causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. It also has an instant adventure, Vantress Visions. For 1 and a blue, copy target activated or triggered ability you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. Okay, so getting to copy a activated ability or triggered ability is kind of nice on the instant, right? It's looking at something happening on the stack and copying it. And then having the Panharmonicon-like effect on the enchantment, also pretty nice. 5 mana for an enchantment that lets you double your enter the battlefield triggers isn't bad. Trying to think what else does that. Guess Elish Norn does, and was it Yarok that does as well? I think it's Yarok the Desecrated or something like that. In black, green, and blue. I think that's what it was. So yeah, I guess this is another good version of those effects. 5 mana doesn't feel too overcosted for getting to double things like landfall, or there was Alliance from Streets of New Capenna, where basically whenever a creature entered the battlefield, something would trigger. So I think that's a decent rate. I don't mind it. I'm not hating the 5 mana cost for it. And the 2 mana instant to copy a activated or triggered ability is pretty decent rate as well. So I think this is good rate. I just don't know where I would put this. I guess in a deck that already has Yarok in it to double the chances of having the effect. I don't know. If you have a deck that you are using Virtue of Knowledge, or you've seen it used and it be used well, let me know in the comments below. Next we have Eerie Interference. Splashy Spellcaster, Frolicking Familiar, Frostbridge Guard, Warehouse Tabby, Besotted Knight, Skybeast Tracker, Merry Bards, Curse of the Werefox, Into the Fey Court, Wicked Visitor, and Stormkeld Prowler to round out the pack. Now for today's Pack 1 Pick 1. I kind of like Frolicking Familiar, not just because it's an otter and is adorable, but because it is actually decent. For 2 and a blue, you get a 2/2 flyer that reads whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell. Frolicking Familiar gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And it also has an instant adventure for a red called Blow Off Steam. It reads Blow Off Steam, deals 1 damage to any target. So you get a single mana 1 damage ping, and then you get a 2/2 flyer that wants you slinging spells. This is your signpost for Is It Spellslinger. And it's doing the exact same thing that every Is It Spellslinger does, which is finding reasons to cast lots and lots of instants and sorceries to make your other creatures bigger or hit other payoff triggers just off of, instant sorceries being cast. So in this case, pumping up this little otter. And even if you ignore that, a 2/2 flyer for 3 is pretty on point rate. A 2/2 flyer for 3 that can pump up whenever you cast instants and sorceries is a really good rate. Really, really good rate. And again, the instant is whatever. A red for a damage isn't fantastic. Shock is 1 for 2. Lightning Axe is 1 and discarding a card for 5. So I'm not blown away by the instant, but I think the creature is enough of a signpost to ignore the less than fantastic instant. Now, there are other good cards in this pack, so if you have a different pick one than me, feel free to let me know in the comments below. But that's all for today, so thank you for cracking along with me. Be sure to check back tomorrow as we crack open another pack.